What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. It is Monday morning, November 11th, and we have got a whole heck of a lot to talk about as everything seems to be rallying right now. Bitcoin got up above $82,000. SUI got up above $3. But possibly the hottest coin of them all, the ones that everyone is talking about right now, Cardano. Yes, only a couple of weeks ago, people were saying it was dead and gone, but now it is leading this rally up over 100% since election time, just less than a week ago. What does this mean for all of your favorite crypto? We're going to get into that and a whole lot more in this episode, so do not go anywhere. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, but first, we got to roll the intro. There we go. Mr. T. Shroom, how was your weekend, my friend?
Oh, my weekend was great, Tim. I actually got to see a rodeo for the first time. I putted about nine holes with some buddies and my wife. It was a really good time. And yeah. And now,
you putted 9 holes?
I am new to golf, clearly.
Okay.
We played 9 holes, and
okay.
I did putt all 9 of them.
I didn't know if what you was trying to get away with is that you went and just played putt,
right?
Which sounds like a fun evening. You know, I just had never heard someone say I putted 9 holes.
And Tim, this is why it's important to have good friends like you who will correct and make exactly. And yes. For that reason, I'm better than I deserve. Tim, how are you today?
That's good. You know, I'm getting over some craziness. I put a tweet out last night. Last week for me was all over the place, right? So, first of all, the pros, I would say, way outweigh all of my problems this weekend. Pros, Donald Trump won the presidency. Pros, crypto is pumping like crazy. Cons, right? So 2 big pros. I probably could come up with a lot more, but we'll just bunch them into those 2. Cons, so we're leaving to go to Blacksburg on Friday morning, right? But Thursday night, my son Brody, it was actually kind of crazy. And we're going to tell the story, then we're going to get into crypto here in a second. He's done so good at going to sleep. He goes to sleep around 8:30, and then, doesn't wake up until like 7 a.m. the next morning. But weirdly, he starts crying around 9:30 or so. And I'm kind of like, oh, he's just waking up. It's fine, whatever. I don't know why I decided to go in and check on him. Normally when he cries, we leave him alone. I decided to go check on him. The minute I open the door, the whole room smells like throw up. I go in there. He had thrown up all over himself, all over the bed, and he kept throwing it. Like he was throwing up all night. So Taylor was exhausted. I stayed up all night with him. I earned my dad's stripes, pulled an all-nighter the night before a 7-hour road trip to stay up with my 6th son. Well, then we go to Virginia, watch Virginia Tech lose in person to Clemson. I don't want to talk too much about it. It was heartbreaking. And what makes matters worse is on the drive back to the hotel after the game, I start feeling that intense stomach pain. And I'd caught the same bug that my son had. I don't know how we made it home, driving home yesterday while sick, but we did it. And I'm here. And you know what?
Absolutely.
All things are okay. I'm doing okay. Everyone's alive. We know who the next president of the United States is going to be. Crypto is pumping. So it's all good things when you take out the net negatives, you get the net positives. We're good to go.
And just real quick, before we jump into the crypto, which is why you all have tuned in, we do want to honor everybody celebrating Veterans Day. Thank you so much for those who have served. If you've served, go ahead and let us know in the chat. Man, it is it's my very, very short career in the U.S. Army showed me just how underappreciated soldiers and those willing to serve are. It is absolutely, it is impossible to ever be grateful enough. But we are grateful today. So thank you all so much. If you served or if you have a loved one that you supported that was serving, also very important too. Tim, let's go ahead and jump on into the crypto.
Let's do it. Let's check out what the bubbles are looking like today. Some big green ones here. Dogecoin. Oh, man, we might have to take a look at Dogecoin. I don't know. It's 17% here. ENA is up 17%. But some other noticeable ones that don't get talked about as much here more recently. Stacks is a big gainer, up 9, almost 10%. Render's up 10%. Ondo coming back to life, 12.6%. Sui is up 9.4%. Crow over here up 20.2%. A lot of big green ones. There's some red mixed in, but I wanted to show you guys on the weekly bubbles. We got some big movers here, but I wanted to point out, again, Cardano kind of leading the way. It's not the biggest gainer of the week, but check out Cardano at 81%. I'm not finding any other coin except for Dogecoin, Cardano and Dogecoin sniffing the big gainers that are in the top 10. Those two absolutely are doing phenomenal. Of course, Dogecoin more benefiting from the early part of last week, still doing very, very well today. But Cardano's been the surprise pop-up coin. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's check in on Bitcoin real quickly before we go too much further. And we're going to get into some interesting territory here, everybody, on the charts. You're going to start seeing things flash overextended, but you can't necessarily count on a big rejection coming. Let me explain why. First of all, you can see, though, Bitcoin surging here after hesitating around 76,000. That mark was something we talked about earlier. It is now moving over the last 2 days. We're up over 82,000. We're pumping even as we're talking at the moment. You're going to start seeing, though, on these charts, watch out for people starting to say we're overextended, right? We're saying we're 100% overbought on the RSI right now. The MACD is the highest it has been since all the way back at the highs of March, right? So you're going to see some people starting to say that's a negative thing. We canceled out some bearish divergences here in play. We're rallying here again, but you are going to start to see people talking about us getting into take profit levels, rejection levels. They're going to start looking at oscillators saying, oh, it's time to move back. And I'm not saying there won't be any type of pullback whatsoever. But I've said this on the show before. I want to bring it up again. During these explosive bull markets, let's go back even more recently, recent news. Let's go back to last year in October of 2023. We got overextended almost immediately on the rally. And all that happened was as the oscillators cooled off, the price went sideways and still up. During explosive bull markets, just because you're getting bearish divergences and bearish calls doesn't necessarily mean it's over. In fact, if you were to go all the way back to the bull market 4 years ago in 2020, you can see we pretty much, as you look at these oscillators, we just lived in overextended territory. Look at all of these high rejection levels during a time period where the price just kept climbing. You saw it on the MACD. You see it on the RSI. Just because we're overextended, just because there's indicators flashing that we're overbought, does not mean there will be a major correction. In fact, it's actually a sign of just how strong the bulls are. I say all this because if you guys had been watching and trading with us over the last couple of months, we talked about every single time the oscillators got overextended. Every single time we were hitting take profits on the charts, we needed to cool off and come back. That's what happens when you're in a trading range. But during the explosive portions of bull markets and bear markets, you don't really want to trade against the trend whatsoever. And even when you start to see reversal indicators, you have to kind of take them with a grain of salt. You're going to want to wait to see major ones happen on larger time frames, such as the weekly chart and higher. The daily chart, though, we're going to continue to monitor this. I'm not saying there won't be pauses, but we are definitely in the middle of a major, major breakout. Do not get too squirmish and start taking profit thinking you're to time this perfectly. Let's even see what the 4 hours kind of looking like. 4 hour showing us we're overextended as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we stay still here for a couple of hours after these explosive movements, meaning I don't think we're dropping significantly down, but I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of stay in this box for the rest of today. That being said, then we'll regroup. We'll get these lower time frames like the hourly and 4 hour to come back down. In fact, the hourly chart didn't even it still has room to the upside to go there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see us trade sideways, not really have much of a correction whatsoever, and then continue to the upside. If we were to see a correction, we will use the 1 hour chart and kind of talk about where that correction would be. And then we're going to get into some altcoins here in a second. If we're going to correct, look for this order block. Look for that smart share on the 1 hour chart. Around 80,700, 80,800 to be about as far back as Bitcoin would want to pull. That's going to be something, though, to keep monitoring. We're in a very strong bull market. Do not enter any long-term shorts. If you do want to try to scalp and go short, keep your eyes on the screen. It's gonna be very quick, and you do not want to get caught and get yourself liquidated very quickly with how explosive this bull market is. T-Shroom, let's transition though. I'm going to show the charts, and we're going to get into potentially why it is going so well. Let's talk about Cardano. I mentioned it, the top mover right now amongst top altcoins, and part of that reasoning is because if you go back here to November 8th, all right, we rallied up to 66 cents, over 100% move for Cardano. Remember, this is again only since the 6th, so it hasn't even been a full week here. And yet, during this whole time period, right in here, as Cardano is kind of trading in a range between 30 cents and what is that, about 41 cents ever since July, there was so much talk that it was dead, it wasn't going to make it. Cardano, you need to get out of it if you have it. Here's the thing. We recently made a Cardano price prediction where we made nobody happy. Nobody liked my Cardano price prediction. If you're a Cardano bull, you thought I was too bearish. If you're a Cardano bear, you thought I was far too bullish. The truth is, this is kind of what we expected here on the channel to happen. If you go back and look at the chart, ultimately what we have going on here is this was a time period kind of showing consolidation on a coin that still had a lot of value, still has a very bright future, but was suppressed, was very overextended to the downside, meaning oversold, and eventually bubbles do pop, and when they pop, we had an explosive movement. Now, I'll be the first to say, I'm surprised that we made it all the way to 66 cents before seeing any type of resistance. If you guys have been watching the show, we were monitoring a falling wedge pattern on Cardano. If I go back here, we were talking about a move up towards 53 cents. If you take the opening of this formation and you move it over to the last level of support, I thought somewhere here on 55, 53 cents would be a level of resistance. Well, no, we broke right on through that here late yesterday and just kept on rallying. That being said, this does not mean, I want to make sure people are not getting ahead of themselves. This does not mean all of a sudden everything in the world has changed for Cardano and we're going to $10 in the bull market. I hope we do. I want to be very frank with people. I really hope Cardano outperforms my expectations. What are my expectations? My expectations are probably somewhere above $2 by April, somewhere around $4 by next year this time. And I believe this market will be extended. I think we get towards $7 sometime in 2026. Nothing has changed for my predictions. Nothing has changed on Cardano. This is the type of move I expected to come at some point. Now, the reason it came, let's get into that here, T-Shroom. The reason it came is because of some excitement that happened over the weekend referring to the founder of Cardano, his name being Charles Hoskinson. T-Shroom, why don't we get into a little bit on that? What happened with Charles? Why are people so excited? Let's break it down and then discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Well, we've got a soundbite here. This is the soundbite responsible for a lot of the upside. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take a listen, Tim.
Also be devoted to the political process. I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time working with lawmakers in Washington, D.C., and quite a bit of time working with members of the administration to help foster and facilitate with other key leaders in industry the crypto policy.
That's it, right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes on. This is usually like an hour-long kind of video that Charles puts out. But that soundbite essentially got plugged into the X world, right, Twitter, and people run with it, especially those who have long positions on Cardano. Now, Tim, let me just say, there is a possibility here that he is hinting at something that is confirmed behind closed doors, something that is very much already happening and is on a paper somewhere, has been submitted to the proper departments in the U.S. government, right? But there's also a chance that what he's saying is only what he's saying. And Tim, how often do people say they're going to be working with the U.S. government, and that does not mean that they're in some kind of special committee?
Yeah, so right on there, T-Shroom. I think that it's one of those things that when you say working with Washington, that could mean 100 different things. There's rumblings and rumors that he might be a part of the crypto team under Donald Trump. And if we're going to give it any type of weight as to that being true, there is a relationship with Charles Hoskinson and RFK. That being said, does that mean that that's the nail in the coffin? It's a sure thing? No. Until we hear Donald Trump confirm or RFK confirm that Charles is going to be working with the crypto team, you have to take it with a grain of salt. technically Charles, I don't know if he purposely did or accidentally. He didn't really say details. He just said, I'm working a lot with Washington. Again, it would be foolish, I think, of Donald Trump's team not to at least ask him some questions. There are few people in the world that have been developing cryptocurrency longer than Charles Hoskinson. He does have a lot of experience. He's also one of the biggest champions of true decentralization, which of course means a whole lot to people like RFK. And I think the more and more he learns about it, would mean a lot to Donald Trump. That being said, this is not an official thing. There's rumblings and rumors out there. He's already been appointed. None of that has been factualized. None of that has been confirmed. Let's find out what happens. But I have some more deeper to go. And this, I might make some Cardano people upset. And I want to make sure you guys understand, I love Cardano. I love the project. I own a lot of it. But I want to call a spade a spade. There's this huge movement right now amongst the Cardano community that now that Charles Hoskinson has stepped out of Cardano, meaning it is fully governed by the people who own it, who are staking it, who are node operators. They love to use the argument, well, Charles Hoskinson no longer has a major impact on Cardano because it's fully governed. It's his own project. He's gone off to do his own thing. And yet it's pumping on news that he potentially is going to be working with Washington. I think it's silly for us to disassociate Charles Hoskinson from Cardano, both positively and negatively. If Charles finds himself in the news in bad light, it's going to affect Cardano. It's just that simple. You can say it's self-governed. You can say he's no longer a major decision maker till you're blue in the face. The truth is, he is still the largest impact on Cardano's price action. And that, in this case, is extremely bullish because now that he's in positive light, now that there's rumors and rumblings, he could be a key decision maker in how America regulates cryptocurrency. That's positive for not only crypto, it's also positive for Cardano. And that's because Charles Hoskinson and Cardano, like it or not, are tied at the hip and will be for a very, very, very long time.
Yep. It wasn't just that, though, Tim. There's a rumor kind of spreading around. Now, this one would be maybe not equally, but this would be very, very exciting as well. Charles Hoskinson to appear on the Joe Rogan podcast. This is being put out by Tap Tools, which is a pretty serious project within the Cardano ecosystem. That would be very, very bullish too. Look, why is this bullish? Because it brings awareness to the project of Cardano and gives platform to a platform that to a project that ultimately does need quote unquote defending, right? A lot of folks are out there levying claims that Cardano is a dead chain. Well, if Charles Hoskinson can get on the Joe Rogan podcast and address those claims, that would be big. The thing is, though, when you spread these rumors and they don't come true, that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully it comes true. I will say that.
It'd be interesting, and he did this when he went and spoke before Congress. Let's say he does go on Joe Rogan, which again, we want to make sure we're not confirming. We're not saying it's actually going to happen. We're saying there's rumors out there he's going to be appearing on Joe Rogan, which would be huge. I would very much like to see that interview and him not mention Cardano. And I know some people are going to be like, no, Tim, we wanted to mention it. Here's why, especially if we do see him being some form of an impact player on the political stage, if he does end up working with Washington in some official capacity. When he went before Congress arguing for the freedoms and rights of cryptocurrency, he never once mentioned Cardano. He mentioned crypto as a whole. He mentioned the technology. He mentioned the different things happening. I think it still would be a massive win for Cardano and a massive win for crypto as a whole, and regaining some relationship there. I even see people in chat here, T-shirt, that don't like Charles. They don't like the way he's talked about other crypto projects. He's a very polarizing figure. Some people love him and other people love to hate him. I think it would be awesome. It would be really awesome to see him go on Joe Rogan and speak for 3 hours and never mention Cardano, but simply talk about the crypto industry as a whole and what it plays part in the future. Some people are going to disagree with me. Some people are going to say, no, we should talk about Cardano. If you own a lot of Cardano, you probably wanted to mention Cardano. I'm just kind of thinking 2 steps ahead and saying, hey, for the future of cryptocurrency, and guess what? The millions of people who listen to Joe Rogan who do not invest in crypto, I think it'd be really cool for the future of the whole industry for Charles to be an advocate of the entire field, not just the project that he started. But that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments, in the chat. What do you guys think? Do you want to mention Cardano? Do you want to not mention Cardano? What are your thoughts about that as a whole if he ends up appearing on Joe Rogan? T-Shroom, any other news headlines we want to cover this morning, or do we want to just cover some charts and kind of make our exit here? Okay, more news. Let's do it.
We got one big one here. For those of you who have invested in the Bitcoin mining world, you may have picked up some CleanSpark stock. It's definitely one that we've talked about, and it's one that's very, very popular among crypto enthusiasts. I can confirm that CleanSpark, as of right now, still does not have a resume time on the NASDAQ official New York Stock Exchange website. This is the trading halts. Again, CleanSpark here, CleanSpark common stock and the warrants are still unlisted to the resume date. Why exactly this happened and why CleanSpark is not yet trading is not known. But again, from my understanding and my digest of this situation is that it's not a negative thing. It was essentially an error with the warrant system on the CleanSpark side. Doesn't look great, right? Because that's not an error that's super difficult to avoid. But we'll see what ends up happening. There are rumors as well that there was a big stock purchase, meaning, a big Wall Street fund went ahead and tried to buy a huge lot of the stock, and so there may have needed to be a halt for that because it would quite drastically reassess the price of that company. But what I can show you all is that all of the other crypto miners are up big here in pre-market. So Riot up 10% there in pre-market. Marathon Digital up, almost call it 17% there. Hut 8 up 10%. You kind of get the point. CleanSpark still here, halted at $13.57. So, Tim, as this story evolves and develops, we'll be bringing the updates on the 3 p.m. live show today. But that is essentially the news. There's one more kind of stray headline. I don't think we're going to cover
real quick,
it.
I want to comment on that.
Go for it.
The CleanSpark thing being all over the place. It's going to, if you don't own CleanSpark and you want to own it, this is bad news for you, right? Because when it finally gets reopened, it probably is going to be a lot higher. Ultimately, I can't guarantee you this, but what it smells like is a good way. They think this stock's about to skyrocket. They think this is about to be really good, especially under the Trump administration. They are doing some things that are allowing institutional buyers to get a hold of it at current prices. The next time the average person can buy it, it's probably going to be a lot higher in price, if I had to guess. This means if you're currently a holder of CleanSpark, you're going to be very happy. Again, this type of move is not something that's showing that CleanSpark's about to be in trouble. This is the type of move that says, hey, institutions want in, they want in big, and they do not want to compete with the retail investor. They're doing some weird, fishy things, and the price is about to skyrocket. If you're already in, good for you. If you're not in, sorry about it. You probably missed out on that one. Guess what? There's other plays. You're going to be okay. Stick around with the bros. We'll help you out.
Yeah. Look, I'm excited as a significant shareholder in CleanSpark, not by percentage of the overall shares, but by percentage of my portfolio.
Major CleanSpark whale.
I'm excited. I think that this is going to be do very good. What is the nature of their business, right? They mine Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price is going up. There's clearly something associated with the heavy volatility we've seen in the underlying asset, in this case Bitcoin, that is causing valuation of the stock per share to be in question, right? And there's not really, we're not really sure what exactly that is. There's rumors, right, that some big Wall Street investment fund is trying to come in and maybe buy the whole thing or something along those lines, or buy a big portion. But it could just be as simple as they filed some warrant documents incorrectly and it got halted for that reason. It could be a clerical error. It could be a huge buy. It would be nice if there was a little bit more information, but the best information that I've seen is a tweet from Matthew Schultz, kind of basically saying that he can't only say so much, but the trading halt is not a result of any issue associated with CleanSpark's business, operations, or filings with the SEC, or financial statements or security. So it's just, it's something that everybody's in an NDA and they can't disclose exactly what's going on. But I'm bullish on it. You can't sell it because it's halted, but I would not be. I'm not a seller here, right? I don't see like categorically there's higher risk because there's uncertainty with the halt. Why is the halt? We don't know. That's not great. But I'm feeling pretty bullish because of what they do. Look at their business model. So, yep, that's it. That's it from the news. We'll have a lot more 3 p.m. You guys have probably seen some pretty crazy headlines. We're going to cover those more at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so we can keep this show a little bit shorter.
Yeah, yeah, and just so you guys know, these Mondays and Wednesday morning shows are mostly just check-ins, anything that's breaking, that's crazy, just to keep you guys up to date. If you want more analysis, technical analysis, more news, make sure you watch every single day at our 3 p.m. live shows where we cover everything you need to know. Let's check in on a couple other altcoins here this morning, T-Shroom, just kind of what's been happening with them, and then we'll call it a day. Dogecoin, the other big gainer, again, another one that's up over 100% since the election season. It is flirting with, it actually touched 30 cents earlier this morning. That is amazing. Just like Bitcoin and Cardano, we kind of talked about earlier, these are explosive moves. I'm not saying we can't reject. We have hit and take profits here. We're higher than we've been this entire bull market here on Dogecoin. And we are seeing the oscillators showing us, look at this daily, 100% oversold. But look at this. We've been 100% oversold since back here on November 6th when we were up here around 19 cents, right? And we're staying there. But you do see the highest we've seen the MACD, and oh my goodness, I'm going to have to scroll here a little bit. This is the highest the MACD has been since August of 2021, okay? Keep that in mind. I'm going to show you guys something why that's not necessarily a big deal. Our oscillators, after hitting bearish divergence, having a small pullback, we're back to being overextended. Here's what I'll say. If you see a sell order, a sell signal on the daily chart, there probably will be some form of correction. What am I talking about? Well, if you guys have been on the channel, if you guys use Luxalgo along with us, I'm talking about a reversal. We have that. But a bearish momentum oscillator, we do not have that. Negative money flow, we do not have that. This is the time where if you see us still being bullish, we're going to remain bullish. If you see sell signals start to pile up, that's when you can expect, at best, a little pause, and at worst, maybe a small pullback. With an altcoin like Doge, you probably could even see 10 to 20% pullbacks, and that not be abnormal whatsoever. But that's what you need to be watching for on Dogecoin. Before I move on to other coins, let's talk further what I talked about with Bitcoin and saying, hey, this is the explosive part of the market. Do not get swayed here. Here's another indicator that's going to make a lot of people bearish this morning. It's this ad. Automate. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why it's here. All right, fear and greed index. 76%. Yesterday was at 78%. We are extremely in the greed. All right. There's going to be some people out there that tell you this is extremely bearish. You need to sell. Why? Because this indicator is actually pretty good. When you get into extreme fear, you really should be buying. When you get into extreme greed, you really should be selling. That's not necessarily what you need to be doing right now. And let me explain why by going down here and looking at the history of how this has worked. Well, we've made this comparison time and time and time again, but I want to do it here. Let's go back to 4 years ago. What was the fear and greed index doing 4 years ago? Oh, look at this. It was bunching up and spending a lot of time here between 70 and 80 before doing what? Popping up and living in the 90s, 80s and 90s, all the way from like November of 2020, all the way until kind of January. And then we had a little drop, and we had a little correction, dropped us all the way down to 40, even though we only corrected like 30%. Then we popped back up and lived in 90. What is it saying? During this portion of the bull market, we will live in extreme greed. We are just now getting back up in here over the last couple of days and weeks. This is simply a bunching up period similar to 4 years ago. We're going to continue. So don't be so quick to sell in this extreme greed. This is the greed period where things just get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. That's what we're seeing on Dogecoin, on Bitcoin, on a lot of these altcoins that are going nuts right now. Yes, they're overextended, but they're supposed to be. Why? Because this is the part of the cycle where people are buying in massively. Some other big movers that I wanted to take a look at. SWE is up really, really big today. It is up over $3.21. Actually got above $3 yesterday, but it is just continuing to make these higher highs and go ridiculously high. Again, are the oscillators overextended? Absolutely, they're overextended. But until we see negativity on these daily oscillators, until we see official sell signals with negative money flow and negative oscillator movement, don't bet against the trend. Right now, you should be holding and hodling long term. We will keep you posted not only here on YouTube, but also in our Discord. If for any reason there seems to look like a major pullback coming, you guys will be the first to know from me and T-Shroom. But with that said, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's show. Stay tuned, though, this week. This is going to be a very fun week. Not only because crypto is pumping, and I think there's a chance it continues to pump, but we have some big news coming out later this week about the channel. You do not want to miss it. But I'm going to finish by just teasing that. We're going to let you guys
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Come back at 3 p.m. Come back at 3 p.m. And we're going to have a fun show this afternoon. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. See you this afternoon. Adios.